Hi, this is Heidi Gaiman from ilovemyshepherd.com with Mental Health Mondays. Sorry, I'm a tiny bit late, but I'm embracing my imperfection. So let's do that together today. We're continuing our series on talking about help and asking for help. And so today we're going to talk about who to ask for help from. Everybody might need to say hello to my family who's kind of home today. If you see people walking through, that's a few Gaimans for you. So it's kind of fun. We live in the middle of the mess, just as you all do. And we kind of embrace that glorious mess, always fighting for a little bit better version of it, right? I fully believe that in the messiness of the struggle, that's where Christ's love, that's where Jesus' love shines brightest. That's where all the grace is. And so I am, you can see my husband over there. So we're just going to embrace that today. Who to ask for help. I have 4 points on this today, and I don't want to go too long. So if you have questions that we didn't touch on, feel free to throw them up in the comments and I can address them a little bit later as we go along, or in the comments on the YouTube archive, wherever you're at. You can always email me at ilovemyshepherd.com at gmail.com, and I'll be happy to help. Just a little disclaimer, like, this isn't therapy, right? I totally encourage using local services and finding a good therapist, but we're going to help you try to find that person when we talk about who to ask for help. Also, when is therapy the choice and when is it something else? What do we need? We don't all need the same thing. And so that's part of the asking for help. Last week's we talked about the how-tos of asking for help, and we developed a little system. I need help for fill in the blank. And so if you haven't seen that, go back to that, look through that, maybe do the little bit of charting that I suggest, because I think that will help you then get to the who we're talking about. So 4 things on who to ask for help. Number 1, do I need wisdom or do I need an expert? These aren't mutually exclusive. A lot of times they overlap, but I think sometimes in life we have to ask ourselves what style of help we need. Do we just need connection and someone to listen, or do we need that, real expertise where someone is going to impart knowledge to us? Also, can this be had from someone with wisdom, with life experience, someone who has shared the struggle? Or do we need to go to a professional of some kind, whatever breed that is? Just like there's times I ask, so I have a dry skin problem, right? I ask my friends, like, what is going on with my ear? It's all dry and weird. And I'll ask, like, who's experienced what? And then I'm Googling things and all of that. Then there's a time to make an appointment with the dermatologist, right? And those things aren't mutually exclusive, but knowing the kind of help I'm seeking from each source is really important. Because if we go to our dermatologist for a listening ear, we might get really disappointed. We may not, we might. But if we go to our friend for some expertise that is to be had in a very specific area, we also might be very disappointed. And so sorting through that, what kind of help do you need? What kind of help are you ready for? What kind of help are you ready to listen to? We all have what we call pre-contemplation, which is really where we just want someone to hear our story and to be heard, and then to maybe hear back, but we're not really ready to put anything to action. That's cool. But just know, when you're ready for not past pre-contemplation into actual contemplation and then into action, we're going to maybe look for some professional guidance. This is one reason why people hire life coaches and things, is because you want someone someone who has expert in leadership when you're working on a certain professional development thing or whatever. So that's the first thing. Am I looking for wisdom? Am I looking for a listening ear? Or am I looking for the wisdom, or am I looking for an expert? Number 2 on who to ask for help. When is it vital for it to be word-centered? And by word, I mean biblical. When is it vital for it to be word-centered? And when is it vital, and when is it not vital? When can I engage the filter and know that I'm not looking for a biblical-centered model for certain things? this is hard because there's a value source wrapped up in this and a belief system, and we're all very different in this, but knowing your ability to take in information that is outside of the Bible is important. How much can I filter? I really believe that spirituality is in so many things. But I also believe that we shouldn't shut ourselves off and live in like the bubble of the Christian church. So people have different tolerances for seeking therapists, seeking help from people for various issues outside of their faith, outside of their denomination. Figuring that out for yourself is what I'm talking about. I'm not going to tell you what the right way is. We all have a different tolerance for that. We all have different filter levels. Also knowing that, like, is it important to me that my primary care physician is Christian or not? Again, we all have different tolerance for that. Just wrestling with it a little bit, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. When does it need to be word-centered and when doesn't it? We don't have a lot of time to get into that a lot, and there's a huge part of that. But just a very quick example is that my personal therapist in Ohio was not Christian. And for a little bit, I kind of wrestled with whether that was a good choice or not. And for me, the conclusion came to be that the heart of therapy is helping the client, the therapist helping the client live in their belief system, the client's own belief system. So you should never see any therapist that is trying to convince you of their own belief system, whatever that is. So that's kind of an important piece. And again, that's like very philosophical. There's a lot in that. But making choices for yourself of what kind of filter you have, what you can take, when do you need the word? I'm not going to go talk to someone about whether I should get a divorce from someone that doesn't hold the belief system that I do, and is outside of what God is saying in the Bible, because I think we can talk about the really difficult topic of divorce with people and have a reasonable conversation around the word. That's where that needs to happen. And there's a lot of things like that. But there's other things where, we're going to be able to talk about things with people outside of the word, but understanding our own worldview. That's really important, our own worldview within the word. Hard, right? Just hard. So we're going to keep struggling with that, hopefully, on these Mental Health Mondays, too. Number 3, compassion. Don't seek help from someone who is not compassionate. It's useless. This is going to happen with professionals that you see. If they're not compassionate, I'm just going to tell you, find somebody else. You can find the same expertise with someone with compassion. And I say that across every single profession. But you will be sorely disappointed every time you try to seek help from someone who is not compassionate. Life is hard. And when we're seeking help, that means something is hard. So, find someone with compassion, because I guarantee you that person's out there. Even talking to a pastor, if you are disappointed in your pastor's response, not because of the substance, but because of the posture, there are plenty of pastors with compassion. I'm not telling you leave your church or anything like that, but don't let that define the church for you. Because I think that happens. That happens when we come to someone about our miscarriage and they give us, theological jargon without the compassion and comfort. So find compassion. It does exist within every field. Number 4, final one, local services whenever possible. So kind of deciding when we seek help from like an organization or a professional that is national. When we go on a retreat, that's one format for getting help. When we go to like a crisis center, one format for getting help, a crisis hotline, again. So those are like national resources that can be accessed from everywhere. And then when we need local and ongoing. And those things usually connect in some way. But I really encourage you, when you can go local, because those will be the resources that are there for you when you get up the next day, there for you when you, fall into frustration and just the burden of trying to find help, and the ongoingness of life. So local services, if it's hard to find your local services, let me know. There's like a questionnaire that I haven't developed, that I got from someone else that is about trying to find a good counselor, what kind of questions to ask. And I think we could develop the same thing for local services. Like, what kind of service do I need, and what can I find at different places, and how do I begin that process? That is a lot to sort through. It's so much to sort through what is available to me locally. And if you're in a rural area, and sometimes even urban, it can be really frustrating trying to find the resources. And that's what social workers do. That's one reason I have my MSW, because it's a focus on where are the resources, let's find them and go get them. So finding a local social worker can be one of the best tips I can give you for sorting through those local resources. A lot of places have like a 211, a place you call and you say, hey, I need this help. And they tell you the local resources, and then you sort through them too. So just local when possible, use the national resources. How can they help you, hone in on what you have locally available to you? Whew. Any comments? Not much. I didn't hear anything. Didn't hear anything, you guys. It's a little radio silence out there. But throw up some comments. Who has worked for you as far as seeking help? When has it been, that word-centered thing, but then also when have you gotten some help outside of that with some filter lenses on? When have you used local? When have you used national? All of that good stuff. But there's a lot wrapped up in this asking for help, and that's why we've taken a whole month to go through it. Next time we're going to do obstacles to asking for help, because oh goodness, the list is long, and I just started the list and it's a little long. So we're going to work on that next week. If you have questions, throw them up or email me. Always available at ilovemyshepherd.com. Check out our mental health page and subscribe, Facebook, YouTube, the blog, all that good stuff. I love having you guys with me. Thanks for joining me on this journey. See you next time.